So now we've kneaded our bread, what we're going to do is just put it back on itself. So I've got the edges and I'm putting it back into a ball so I've got a nice taut surface. And you just check that the dough springs back. And you don't need to worry too much about this, but if you wanted to, if you push the side of the dough, you'll find that it just springs back slightly. So when you see a recipe that says put an indent in the dough, it doesn't mean do this and stick your finger right in. It means just touch it on the side and make sure that it's elastic and springs back a little bit. So it doesn't have to spring totally, just do it gently and make sure it's nice and springy. At which point we're going to get a bowl, put some oil in it, and that's to stop the bread sticking to the bowl. And then I'm going to cover it with a dinner plate, and I'm going to leave it to rise. Now, so it will rise on the side. You want to leave it in a warm place, not too hot, not too cold. So a kitchen, just a warm kitchen is perfect, and it will take about 45 minutes to an hour to rise. And you'll find the dough in this bowl should double in size and be nice and bubbly. So we'll come back to this in an hour. You can come in too. You can do it with me. So I've got two. You can pop in for a second. So I've got two doughs here. I've got a focaccia dough here, and I've got our olive oil dough here. And I'm going to try and do a time lapse so you can watch these rise. So let's see if it works. Right, our dough is risen. You can see it's got right to the top of the bowl. As we tip it out, you'll see it's nice and airy. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some flour down. I'm going to tip it out the bowl. So you can see it's hopefully in here, it's all airy. So the first thing to do is to portion it up. So I'm going to divide this dough into 6. And when you're working with bread, you want to do each stage completely. So portion it up, portion the dough up. The next stage is to ball it up. So this is going to be for this flour. This is going to be made for making pizza or flatbreads. I'll also show you how to make some breadsticks. So I'll put some dough to one side. So the dough I'm not using, I'm going to cover. And I'm going to show you how to make balls. So you'll find as soon as this dough at the moment is really nice and soft and stretchy, as soon as we start to work it, you'll feel that it goes elastic and it tightens because you start to work the gluten again. So if you find that your dough is really hard to work or roll out or shape, just leave it for a few minutes and you'll find it loosens. So I'm going to pick up the dough and I'm going to just turn it in my hands like this to form a ball. I'm going to put it to one side, ready to roll out. So I'm going to show you a few different things with these breads. I'll probably make them into separate little videos so that you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just find what you're looking for. So I'm going to use this dough to make pizza base. I also want to show you how to make a flatbread, which is really nice to have just for lunch. Fill it like a wrap or a pita. You can use it to have with something like a tagine, or if you did a slow roast lamb. And they also work with curries, although I will show you, I'll do another video about yoghurt-based naan breads, which are really, really lovely. So I've balled all these up, you see. So I'm always going to go back to the first one that I made, because that one will have rested the most. A bit more flour down. Need a rolling pin. I'm just going to roll out some dough. So if you want to, you can push it out. I say start with the first one, right. Put some flour down, stop it sticking. Then take a ball of dough. I'm going to make this into a pizza base. So the first thing I'm going to do is just push it out with my hands. So you skid one for kids. Stretch it right out. You don't necessarily need to have a rolling pin if you don't have one, or you could use something like a tin foil roll. You should find starting to stretch a bit. If you pick it up, you'll find the weight of the dough actually helps it stretch. You want to get it quite nice and thin. Obviously, if you like a deep pan, thick crust, one of my little boys prefers them nice and thick, you can do that. It'll just be a bit more bready. I'm going to use a rolling pin to get it really nice and thin. Really nice thing to do with kids. You can also freeze your dough at this stage. So what I'll tend to do is make a batch of dough. I'll split it into 6, and then I will use up the pizza bases that I want. So I might make 2, and then the rest of it I will I'll wrap up and put into some. I'll wrap it in cling film and put it in a freezer bag. So that if we want pizza, we can just take the dough out, defrost it, and it will be ready to go. So it's another really good one if you have a big freezer and space. Probably not at the moment. But when this is all over, you might like to. So here's my pizza base. Really important thing, get it on a tray before you start adding toppings. If you add toppings now, it's going to get wet. I'm sure probably people have seen it on Bake Off, and then you can't move it. So what I've done, I'm just going to line a tray. I tend to line all my trays. You don't necessarily need to, but it just protects them from getting really marked. And then I found some semolina in the cupboard. I love semolina. It's a really handy thing to have if you like bread making because it stops things sticking and it gives it that slightly sandy texture that you often find on pizzas and focaccias. It's also useful if you want to make your own pasta. I'm going to lift up my dough, pop it on, stretch it out again. You can leave the edges a bit thicker. And I've preheated my oven to 220 degrees, so I've got it really nice and hot. And I've had a rummage in the fridge to see what I've got. So we've put up a nice homemade tomato sauce recipe. So if you've had a go with that, you can put homemade tomato sauce on. If you haven't, just use a bit of passata, doesn't matter. And don't go mad with your sauce, because otherwise you'll find it goes really soggy underneath. So not too much sauce. Spread it out with the back of the spoon. I'd normally put nice mozzarella on a pizza, but I don't have any, so I've gone for some grated cheese. We'll see how that goes. And again, I'm not going to put tons on, because I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out like. This is more about looking at what's at the bread part, rather than the pizza making part. So, in happier times, I would have gone and bought nice mozzarella, maybe some salami. I found a bit of ham in the fridge, so we'll put some of that on. And I've also got some olives I need to use up, so we'll add those too. So I've got some ham, got some olives. Got some olives here. And we'll wrap that in the oven. So here's our pizza out the oven. It's just had 10 minutes. It's all the cheese is melted. It's gone nice and golden, nice and crispy on the base because we've kept it thin. We've had it in a hot oven. If you wanted a thicker base, just cook it for a little bit longer to make sure it's not too doughy. Have it with some salad, and you can do a few big ones. I keep them smaller and cook more of them rather than make a massive one because you'll find they don't cook through so well. But it's a really lovely family lunch or supper, and one of the things that kids can make pretty much. Just with some assistance from adults, there's a real sense of satisfaction if they manage to make something for the family. It's also really, really cheap to feed a crowd. So enjoy, have a go.